I am an artist and from the creative sector. And I also want to generalize this question of my input. My input is about, I love what I do. For the artists, for the creative, we do what we love. But now when we are doing what we love, as citizens, also we need help from the national budget to sustain so that we can do what we love as citizens of this country. Because we don't want to go and get job and people force us to do what we don't like to do. Because we have also to look at that part where people do what they love to do. And how do you sustain them to do what they like to do or they love what to do? Because we have our own environment where we practice our creative process, which we also contribute to the society or we contribute to the world. Most of the time, people, they don't talk about us. Even the government, they don't talk about the creatives. Even our line ministry, where we are put, they more focus on education than on the creatives. Even if you see them on newspapers or on TV, they are only building schools. They are not building studios and build where artists can also create their things. We don't have an office in Namibia. As artists, we don't have a place where we can come together and talk about our creativity. But people, they use our music in their cars, they use our music on their TV and all that. They are robbing us. Actually, they should be arrested. So we need police. Police only collect other things, but they don't collect what people are robbing the creatives. So, now the other thing I want to say is the national fund. Where does this fund come from? Where is the budget come from for annual budget of this country? Is it just coming from heaven or is it coming from south? Because we don't know where this fund comes. Where do they collect this money to put together for the nation? Does it come from our national resources? And which national resources fund this fund? And how much also come from all the mines, the fish, everything we have? That is ours, God has given us. It's not for the other countries. The other countries are protecting their national resources. Look what Russia is doing. They are controlling their country resources. We are not controlling our resources. People just come and take and go. So something must come out of these discussions, please, so that we can get the direction. Also the decision who decide how much we must get. Can we also have input as citizens in the last decision of how much can go to the citizen of this country? Thank you.
Everyone, I'm Jason Hangonga. I'm from the financial sector that the Honorable Minister didn't expect to find. Yeah, so just a few points, Honorable Minister, that some have sort of raised them in the past. We sort of just following up on, and the two main ones is the issue of restructuring CMAS and also taking the public service wage bill, which the Honorable Minister also, you know, when you joined your portfolio, sort of highlighted those items, and I think some work perhaps is happening in the background, but we are maybe more of an update how where we are with those two items because they were quite high on the priority list a few years ago. And then the issue of governance and restructuring the SOEs, and also and that restructuring involving things such as partly privatizing or listing some of the SOEs. We did list MTC now just over 2 years ago, and I'm sure there are good lessons from that. So we perhaps need to identify the next candidates for listing and just a general restructuring of SOEs, because we all read in the newspaper that the Minister of Public Enterprises is struggling to attract individuals to serve on boards, or people are rather shying away to serve on boards of public enterprises, and it's not a good trend for a country. So we, so just want to hear your view on, sort of a reform or to restructure so that we can improve governance on that front. And I think for now, those are the few points.
My name is Junior Genja. I'm from the informal sector. My question to the Honorable Minister is this. I'm thankful that you have met with the Minister of Education and you have identified that the problem within the Minister of Education is not only money, but other things that are involved. That's why we see a situation where we have graduate teachers applying to the ADF soldiers. So obviously there's something that is supposed to happen in the Ministry of Education that is not happening right now. But now, my question is, 28% of the budget goes to the Ministry of Education, and that's just mainly for salaries, teachers, etc. I'm yet to find out how much goes to the structures, the buildings, and the equipment that are in the schools and etc. I'll leave it there. My other question is, Honorable Minister, I have seen that the ministry has been paying detailed attention to charcoal production. You have been working closely to ensure that young people are invested in the field. But apart from that, we have unemployment rate that is over 60%. That is a crisis. It warrants an emergency. There has to be a state of emergency for unemployment. What is so difficult for the Ministry of Finance to declare a budget in all the ministries? Ministry of Health, there has to be a youth budget there. Ministry of Education, there has to be a youth budget there. Ministry of Mines, there has to be a budget there. We saw young people being chosen for the green hydrogen. We don't even know how the Office of the Presidency chose those individuals that are currently being funded for the youth for the green hydrogen. Maybe Honorable Kanjobe can maybe answer that part. But my plea is this: let's just have a youth budget for all the ministries. It will solve this issue because things are not normal in this country anymore. As I said, we have graduate teachers, people with degrees that are planning to be soldiers. Yes. I don't know if that is normal or not, but I'm speaking from a student perspective. Let's have a youth budget for all the ministries. I think that will contribute. It will maybe decrease, it will reduce a few of the unemployment that we currently have. Please, Honorable Minister, that's my submission. Thank you.
My name is Nafimane Hamukoshi. I am representing a lot of organizations, including the Basic Income Trend Coalition, Corporate Association as the Executive Director and first year student at the University of Namibia, and also the Economic and Social Justice Trust. So I have two questions that I'm posing to the Honorable. How can we address the various problems related to early child development, such as lack of access to education and malnutrition if we do not prioritize and invest in initiatives like the basic income grant. Despite numerous studies, including the one conducted by Namibia, highlighting the benefits of implementing BIG, which was the first one worldwide, it seems that
Can you go a little bit slowly so we can take down the question? Yeah.
how can we address the various problems related to early child development, such as lack of access to education and malnutrition, if we do not prioritize and invest in initiatives like the basic income grant? Despite numerous studies, including one conducted by Namibia, which was the first worldwide, highlighting the benefits of implementing VIG, it seems that political will rather than affordability or feasibility is hindering its implementation. Isn't it astonishing that such a powerful tool for empowerment is being overlooked due to political reasons rather than affordability? My second question is, from the previous meeting, has the discussions or the things that were made by the civil society organizations, did this become a tick box exercise to get international rating for consulting the people?
Nations especially committed to combating malnutrition. As we discussed the midterm budget review, I asked the Ministry of Finance and the National Planning Commission to consider the critical issue of malnutrition in our nation. Malnutrition poses a great threat to the physical and cognitive development of our children, impacting their future potential. So we request an allocation of funds towards comprehensive nutritional programs, including awareness campaigns, nutritious school meals, and support for vulnerable families, because the what we are currently is not enough. So I understand that every ministry has people they send to go into communities for them to see what the people are going through. Can we advise so that our ministers, deputy ministers, go into the communities themselves? Because as I stand here, my body is even shaking, and I'm actually acknowledging and even saying thank you that I have an opportunity right now to stand in front of you to tell you that in Katutura, I'm from Midwest, but in Katutura, Okuyangaba, Habana, these kids that go to sleep with no food. And I'm saying it because I've seen it myself. The reason why I came with my organization is because I failed a child that I was supposed to assist but could not. And the child died. That was the first time I heard about malnutrition. I told the mother to call me and I will assist her. And 2 days later, she called me and she told me that the child died. But the unfortunate thing is, Namibia has so much resources. But as a 22-year-old student, I take money from my pockets. I go sell in Katutura for me to be able to feed children in those locations. While we have people that are high tables. And I'm not going to blame anyone because I understand you have your administrators that are doing certain things, especially groundwork. But kindly please go there for yourself. See for yourself. So that you see a small child with so many sores because it's not clean. The area they're in is not clean. So that you can see a 3-year-old child looking at me and crying because she's eating food and she's not used of eating food. I'm begging you. I'm so sorry, my body is actually and then you see what these kids are going through. These are the kids we see that they are our future leaders of tomorrow. But why are we neglecting them? I have to work hard. I don't have any job, but I have to feed these kids. You can go on our social media page. We feed these kids. We give food to organizations. She also is part of certain organizations that feed children in Katutura. But those parents are some of our parents that are voters. They actually voted thinking that they are going to see certain change, but their kids are suffering. A child is not going to school because there is no pets. Okay, there's zero rate on pets. But what about someone that does not have $12 or $15 to afford that pet? What happens to them?
Thank
And
you
another
so
thing,
much.
no,
Let's
sorry.
allow others.
Yes, just
Yeah.
the last thing. Again, that I wanted to talk about. Someone that spoke about education. In my country, in Namibia, we have more universities and less industries. What are you doing about that? Because you go to school, you pay your education, and then in the end of the day, you don't even get a job because there's no enough industries. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I am representing Business Today NBC News, and I just want to also ask something, Mr. Graham. Yeah? In the discussions that we've had, or that you've had with the civil societies, has a business approach come to a point where you decided to have a conversation around industries that we can start? Currently, right now, the discussion that is widely on everybody's mouth is the oil that has been discovered. And Namibia has a lot of resources, and we've seen many towns. When you look at Arandes, when you look at Oranjemund, and so on, we've seen many towns that have had resources that have been mined and that are left ghost towns after these resources have been depleted. So where's the discussion of identifying and also starting subsequent industries within towns that can be developed, such as Oranjemund, Arandes, and so on? Are we going to have a discussion like that? Or because when we look at resources are just resources, those resources can run out. Are we going to have that discussion to have subsequent industries that will develop those towns, to maintain those towns when people leave or when that mining industry does run out? That's basically all I wanted to say in terms of that. Oh, secondly, are we gonna, in the instance of that subsequent industries, are we gonna have the discussion around long-term sustainable industries that can sustain those towns if those resources do run out? Oh, Mr. Graham, we talked about the local content act the last time we spoke. We also got to strengthen that act. An honorable minister can probably look into that and speak to the cabinet about that. Are we going to strengthen the local content act for it to actually exist in the industries that need to exist and be an act that is implemented throughout? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really priceless. My name is Eben Atupunga. I am representing here the Namibia Federation of Persons with Disability, and the subsidiary or organizations that fall under, which are all organizations of persons with disability, most of them. So I just want to raise disability is a cross-cutting issue. And much of the issues that were raised there the message very applies to us. But I just wanted to also alert you to disability funding in general. I feel for the past few years it has been dwindling and going down, especially in the two areas where we see disability funding really coming, which is the National Disability Council and the Disability Department right now under the Ministry of Gender, which I believe improvement could be done. For example, Disability Council is how the country is supposed to be held accountable, or the government is supposed to be held accountable for disability, or in making sure the persons with disabilities are catered for. But the Disability Council is underfunded, understaffed. They are not able to really do the work like they're supposed to. And also the issue with the disability, the department under the Deputy Minister of Disability Affairs. With the uncertainty that is in, is it a political position? Would we have a ministry at the end of the day? I know some of these issues have political implications, but we are seeing a ray of light, especially with disability, through that department, but which seems like it could also disappear easily with a political decision. Thank you so much.
My name is Florian Marengo, a member of Shekola Association of Namibia. Okay, as young people in this country, we are constantly faced with high unemployment, which we believe some of us that it's been crafted by our own country. Our government is so concerned with getting every young person a degree from UNAM, NAS, and IOM, but they are neglecting the vocational training. Little do we know that us that are graduates from NAS and UNAM, we are coming with a skill, and we are being taught here. We are graduating with a skill. But the guys at BTC, these are the colleagues that are graduating with a skill. Little do we know that we as graduates from university are incorporated into the guys that are graduating from the BTC. So the BTC colleagues, these are the guys that are building the economy, and we as graduates from NAS, UNAM and IUM are waiting for this for this country. So I would like to pose the question to the Honorable Minister. How much is really given to the BTC? Because I visited the area of Namibia. We have what we call trainees. We call ourselves students. They call themselves trainees at the vocational trainings. So we have a lot of trainees that are dropping out of their vocational institutions due to lack of funding. But while we have students at the UNAM and NAS that are getting non-tuition fee, which is 17,000, 21,000, which would get that at least for 5 trainees to be in that vocational training and get a skill.
Thank you for this platform. I think it's very refreshing to have a platform like this where we can sit and have a discussion with cabinet ministers and be involved in feeding stories back directly to decision makers. I think it's very powerful, and I think if more ministers and more ministries did this, we would really see discussions advancing. So I want to really appreciate the time. But I do want to challenge one thing. So it's not exactly a question, but I really want to challenge this narrative of who these few people that are falling through the cracks. I have never seen Namibia so poor. I think at the moment we are a country of people falling through the cracks. 60% of the population are living in households with between $0 and $5,000 million per month. And we know our households have about 5 people per household. 60%. So it's not these stories that came from Karatura. These are not random, isolated stories. This is systematic, chronic hunger, desperate poverty in Namibia. So I echo this thing of please go out and see it. We've all seen in the news stories that the Parliamentary Standing Committee that's going to visit hospitals, and they're acting shocked and surprised about the state of the services in the regions. But people living in the regions are not shocked and surprised. This is their everyday reality. So I just want to really emphasize this. This platform is excellent, but please, let's change this narrative. Most Namibians are not doing well. And I think linked to this, one of the things that is such a chronic issue about cracks is the accountability within our systems. I think it's brilliant that so much money in Namibia goes towards education, but we know there's issues of accountability. It's good that we have a social welfare service system with grants for vulnerable people and all these other things, but so many issues, again, come up with accountability with the administration of these funds. So I think the combination of thinking pro-poor and having real accountability and not looking at these as isolated examples of slipping through the cracks. And I think if we have that shifted mindset, the money in the budget in Namibia will have a huge impact. And I really like what was said about being pro-business and creating an environment for private sector and all of that. What brilliant. But I think if we have that reminder, 60% of our population are extremely poor, and we need much more accountability within our government systems. I think we'll see a huge change. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for this platform. I wanted to request that Comrade DG maybe facilitate or help us to facilitate sectoral dialogues also with the line ministries around the formulation of priorities and the budgeting process, because some of the issues we are raising here, if it's not raised, included in the priority issues by the line ministries, we might miss the boat. Secondly, I think I agree with Comrade Finance Minister that it's really a shame For example, just one tiny example. 2018, President says situation in informal settlements is an humanitarian crisis. And then resolutions are taken at the second line conference. Comrade DG, Comrade Minister, till today, 5 years later, we are still finalizing a strategy for upgrading informal settlements. 5 years later. If we assemble 3 civil society and 2 government officials, maybe 1 academic, we can finalize that strategy in a month. Have consultations for 2 months and finalize. Why is it taking 5 years to finalize a strategy? A housing, revise a housing policy. So I'm not sure, you know, when the current administration took over, we were so encouraged because we was talking about performance and CVs and the president signed agreement with the ministers with the GGs and so on. And we're looking forward to these people being held accountable. But we are so disappointed, especially the technocrats down the EDs. We sit on these technical committees, interministerial committees. We waste our time going there and making inputs. If you come 3 months later, we are at the same place. No movement. Second land conference resolution, presidential commission on ancestral land. No movement whatsoever. The next recommendation I wanted to make was the NAMRA CEO was making encouraging remarks about suspicions that fishing industry is not paying enough tax, that maybe some mines are not paying enough tax. And I'm wondering whether we must not boost this capacity. Can we not mobilize national and international tax experts around him so that he can investigate, especially illicit financial outflows? We understand there's a process going on where government is making these assessments and so on. Can we boost that capacity? Final point I want to make is that around universal health coverage, we were encouraged when government said we're going to have universal health coverage, and we thought that the public service medical aid scheme, the one of the Social Security Commission medical aid fee, what the government is putting in public resources, all that will be combined, and we will have like a combined kind of a solidarity fund using the 15 billion plus other resources to boost our health sector. But it seems as if these initiatives are still continuing in isolation, and there is not a unified effort to see how we can fund quality healthcare for all Namibians, whether they help, whether they work, contribute to a medical aid fund or not, but that we guarantee quality healthcare for them. I just want to conclude by saying that, as my neighbor here has said, that, for example, if we look at the social protection policy, we were looking at who are the Namibians that are falling out, that are not covered. We worked for 5 years with Bishop Kameda, including in the same room, had workshops after workshops, and we came back with some kind of a draft social protection policy that we felt was going to address the issue. When it came back from cabinet, it was a disappointment. Most of what we had agreed with Bishop Kameda was dropped. Universal health care, to start basic income grant, sort of with the ones that are excluded, or ones of maternity grant, I can go on and on. All those things were dropped, and that is causing people to fall through the cracks because there's no protection for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my first question is, I think the Minister of Finance, the time when he was presenting the budget, he went to the Parliament with numbers for the soccer players. Now I want to know the update of the Independence Stadium. When is the first national team going to play our games here in the Namibia on the end of the day? And then my second question is, we see in Europe, the league, they are paying players and those soccer players that are getting rich. when in Namibia are we going to upgrade our league so that the soccer players can get rich and we employ our young people there in the soccer so that they can generate income?
It's job creation.
Yeah, job creation. Okay, the last question is the Minister of Finance. When is Namibia going to be in the industrialized nation or in the industrialized economy? Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Minister, the government was put there to serve its people, but currently it's failing to serve its people. Yes, most percentage in the budget goes allocated to education, yet according to statistics, children are the most people that suffer here in this country. What is going on and what's really wrong and why can't you accommodate? Because I believe that Namibia really has the resources to accommodate for everyone here. The fact that you are rejecting the basic income grant, I believe you have the money for it to provide for every single person that is in this country. And another thing is that, can we please have a journal or something that tells us exactly that what was the money used exactly for under the education sector or any different sector, so you maybe sit with other survey groups and so we know exactly what to do next time instead of money going out yet no progress is happening.
So, my name is Guheba Kangule. I am the spokesperson for the LPM Youth Command Element, and I've also been part of the BIG and also the Student Union of Namibia. Now, mine is not a question, it's more of a contribution, because first off, I would like to thank Ansido Foundation, because I have truly learned a lot from this foundation. I've truly learned a lot, and I would like to thank the Minister for his time, because I know how busy he is. And I think I found the problem and also the solution with what is actually going on, because ever since this budget discussion has come up, I've tried to look for solutions to what is actually going on. I've researched on business ecosystems and how we can improve our business ecosystems, and also how at every level of the business ecosystem some type of knowledge or funds is required. But then I have realized that also that...
Can I come to the question, please?
I realized that the biggest thing that we need from the ministry is their time. Even though they are so busy, we need their time. Because without their time, all of these things that they are trying to do is falling apart. Because it seems like there are things that the ministry is doing. To be honest, I've done my research. There are a lot of things that the ministry is doing, trying to improve the country. But then, without their time, none of these things will actually ever happen. And I truly think that if there is some way that the ministry can actually delegate some of these tasks and focus on the Namibian people and what they need and supplying what they need, jobs, whatever it is, I truly believe that the economy itself will be healthier. But then without their time, this is why there is corruption, this is why most of these projects are not succeeding. It's because they do not have enough time. They're always in the office. They can't go to these places that we're talking about because they're always in the office working. And we need the ministry to be there and see what is going on and find solutions. That's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. My name is Frank Nabuda, representing from Namibia. Mine is not a question as such, but it's just a comment and try to make our minds think deeper. Namibia is well known to be one of the best countries in terms of planning. We have good documents of how we run our programs, but the biggest challenge we have is implementation. And when you look at this issue of implementation, it's the one that affects the programs on the ground. And the lack of implementation is because there's a lack of coordination between government entities and SOEs. That coordination is completely very poor. And that coordination lack of coordination is brought by lack of accountability. People do things, they know that whatever happens, there's no one who will call them for accountable of what they have put in place or planned.
So I think we need to look at who's supposed to take care of the accountability for all these organizations that have given mandate to make sure programs are implemented. And also which ministry, I don't know whether it's a National Planning Commission or a minister, also the Prime Minister, that's supposed to make sure that coordination is well coordinated. And if we do that, we'll be able to make and change the lives of Namibia. Thank you very much.